What I am about to tell you, no social media company wants you to hear. Ooh, spell. My team and I did research on the effects of internet consumption by strapping contestants into a virtual reality headset and streaming content from Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, just 24/7. Sort of MK Ultra 2.0 style, but doing it right this time. Who were the participants? People in homeless shelters, frequent customers of Arby's, residents of the state of Delaware, generally just people considered disposable. Rightfully so. And what our research found was that the more attractive, wealthy, successful, breedable, as the kids say, as my kids say, the people in the online content were, the uglier, poorer, and just more pathetic the participants felt. Now, the real question is, were they wrong? No, the participants of the study were actually, rather grotesque, broke, built like Buicks. Tragic. But they had come to terms with it, the way most people are forced to. However, the constant exposure to genetically gifted and artificially enhanced individuals was just too strong a reminder of how shockingly ordinary they were. Understandable. Mental health plummeted. Self-esteem plummeted. So none of them felt inspired to improve themselves? No. That's what we and the CIA, who was funding us, were hoping for. Just something to try and reverse the epidemic of obesity and mediocrity that we have in this country, but it had the exact opposite effect. And that's why the Chinese are gonna win. Exactly. Social media is for being fake. That's the point. You wouldn't go to a dog fight and expect family-friendly entertainment. No. You would just expect a good time. And for the house arrest ankle bracelet to start alerting the police while you're throwing Vietnamese dong on Marley and Me, the alternate ending, just like the founding fathers envisioned. Now, stating that social media does not accurately reflect reality is not a groundbreaking observation. But what I am suggesting is that we go a step further and embrace the artifice. Nay, celebrate it. Okay, maybe not celebrate it, but milk it for all the entertainment value that it's worth. Because I know the secret to actually being able to enjoy the fakeness without losing your mind. Stay tuned. The internet is good for a few things. Catfishing, scamming, finding your estranged father, catfishing and then scamming your estranged father, contemplating your actions and then realizing that he was right to abandon you, and more recently having ChatGPT write your manifestos, the classics. Yes, you can technically use the World Wide Web to spread awareness about an issue or make educational, informative, or inspirational content. But that's not where the internet really shines. My standard advice regarding social media is just don't have it. Seriously. Most people are not built to use the internet, period. The human brain evolved to spot berries or notice which one of your offspring is the cutest and thus more deserving of resources and love. It doesn't know how to process iShow speed clips layered over Subway Surfer gameplay. However, statistically speaking, most of you will not heed my advice. I'm talking to myself in this regard as well. Some of you are glancing down on them as I speak. Caught you. Naughty, naughty. Y'all are playing with fire, but I'm the cool mom that'll let you do substances just as long as it's under my roof and you save mama a hit. But please don't tell your stepfather. I can't afford another divorce. Let's clear some stuff up before we begin. When I say social media, I'm not referring to the kind of content online that is simply practical, like some divorced father showing you how to properly change a tire because he just lost custody and desperately needs to feel useful. I'm talking about the mainstream content and creators that actually generate most of the traffic online and have, op-eds written about them by Vassar English majors. Now, let's first give a specific definition of what I mean by fake. Carefully curated and inauthentic, extremely so at times. Usually when people lament social media for being fake, it's rooted in this desire for authenticity. First, I don't actually believe that people desire this quality as much as they think they do. And I will elaborate on what I mean by that later. But even if they did, I do not believe that genuine authenticity is even possible to achieve on the internet. The second that somebody knows that they are being recorded, especially if they're deliberately trying to cultivate and maintain an audience that will send them donations, buy their merch, or pen them mysteriously stained letters from prison, which is a level of fame that I'm desperately trying to unlock, they cannot act naturally or authentically. Their personality will shift, even if it is ever so slightly, because our lizard brains know that we're being watched. And any online or public personality's livelihood relies on catering to their specific audience of teens, nerds, perverts, the mentally ill, with very, very very few exceptions, the awkward, quirky, nerdy, or dry humor, acerbic, sarcastic, lactose intolerant, whatever insert adjective creator that you like has deliberately curated that brand. But they are more enjoyable to watch because they just exist on the less artificial end of the authenticity spectrum. They are consciously leaning into aspects of their persona that make them more approachable, relatable, weird, or unique, and rarely, if ever, showing the parts of themselves that would be considered controversial, just boring, or cringy. But aren't there creators online who are controversial or cringy and are still seen as being pretty authentic by their audiences? Yes, but you see, my young Padawan, don't condescend me. My apologies. Most of these individuals are considered those things while still remaining within their curated brand. For example, Beacon of Tranquility, HRH Collection.
What's the word? How do Mexican people, they're like, oh, essay or whatever. Yeah, yes, I can. And yes, I can say that word. Stop. This is the thing. I am so tired of getting in a fight with you damn idiots. I grew up in Southern California with basically all my friends are Mexican. Shut your mouth. No one's offended but your dumb, ugly, woke, white ass, okay? These are Chola sunglasses. Yes, they are. I like them. You know what I mean? I feel like gangster, Mexican, whatever, wear these sunglasses. They're very cool and they're very edgy and yes they do, and yes they do. So shut your mouth.
Board certified therapist Dan Herschel.
So I'm gonna give you some tough love, ADHD people. You listen to me. Your mental illness doesn't exist. It's not real. We made up all the mental illnesses just so that we could con insurance companies into thinking that we were actually doing medical science. Mental illnesses aren't real. Oh no! Now, I have to accept responsibility for the fact that I f***ed up my own life. No! Yes! Yeah! You did this to yourself. Sorry.
And historian Trisha Paytas.
I low-key got really sad about the Holocaust this weekend. Moses explained to me what actually happened, and I started crying.
You just found out about the
I had no idea that they tricked them into going into showers and killed millions of them that way.
Have you seen Schindler's List?
No.
You should watch that.
I feel I got really sad when he said that because we were watching The Producers and they had springtime for. I was like, oh, that's cute. And then he was telling me, I'm like, well, what did you do? That was so bad.
Can say these things because it aligns with their out there online personalities or characters that they play. I play all of these clips simultaneously at night, like a demented version of ASMR. If Nikki Tutorials or Marquise Keith Brownlee or I don't know, the niggas that made Baby Shark tried to post something like the clips I just played you, it would not go over in the same fashion. And I'm not trying to frame these individuals as Machiavellian strategists trying to manipulate their audience. I'm just saying that even when it comes to creators that are applauded for their authenticity, none of them are able to actually be the rawest, truest versions of themselves on camera. And I do not blame them whatsoever. You cannot financially support yourself online if you don't actively lean in to what makes you marketable. Consider what happens when someone tries to shift from what their audience wants to something closer to their true unedited selves. Remember Filthy Frank, currently known as Joji, the best artist to listen to when you're sad, drunk, and pining over a lost love that you never actually had? He reigned supreme in the pre-adpocalypse era. If you were a weird kid in middle school, you remember him. And in part due to some pretty severe health issues, he considered starting to make videos that were not in character and showcasing his real personality. And his fans responded by saying, "Aw, put the pink costume back on." And he did, for the time being at least. If your authenticity is not on brand or just so much as not trendy anymore, the internet will drop you like a hot potato. This is why I spit on the advice given to the bright-eyed and bushy-tailed individuals. Okay, well, let's give a more accurate descriptor. The Xannied out and Ozempic'd up clout chasers trying to break into this industry of just be yourself. No! Be a version of yourself that you are comfortable commodifying that is marketable, palatable, and above all, entertaining. What most people really mean when they say they want authenticity online. And by the way, when I say people or the public generally, I'm including myself in that. Because, well, firstly, I'm not immune to any of this BS either. And whatever palpable contempt I feel for the public, rest assured I feel for myself tenfold, is usually that they want something that is not immediately recognizable as being fake. In my opinion, it is akin to when you hear someone say that they like natural beauty? In theory, perhaps, but in practice, they usually mean that they like beauty that looks natural, which is not the same thing. They still want, nay, demand that the individual be entertaining, but it has to look effortless. They can't seem like what they're chasing is views and engagement, even though that is quite literally their job. This expectation, frankly, is even more demanding than just expecting people to be fake. At least being, I don't know, what's a standard internet archetype? An IG baddie. At least that is straightforward. Have racial ambiguity, but still be kind of Aryan looking simultaneously. Slim, thick, vacant stare, vocal point on the derriere. I could do what Kendrick does. Think of the droves of people online posting the closest thing to raw, organic content that you will get. No offense, but like not conventionally attractive. No glitz, no glam, no guap. Maidenless, swag deficient, verbally challenged. They are just as awkward and uncomfortable on camera as the average person is. And no one cares. Nobody wants to bother watching them. They don't have successful careers online. Unless they are being mocked, quite cruelly at times, and turned into lol cows that can be milked for a 10-part YouTube series or, fingers crossed, a Netflix documentary. I'll settle for Tubi. And all because their authenticity isn't marketable, or, I mean, technically speaking, it is entertaining, but entertaining, again, because it's considered cringy and people are laughing at them. Secondly, I do not believe that reforming social media into being less fake is even possible. Whenever certain commentators will use the rage bait political content so successfully divisive that the CIA would be proud, the normalization of Photoshop and cosmetic procedures, or, degenerate streamers unintentionally creating anti-American propaganda, as examples of how the internet went awry, they make it seem as if this is a perversion of social media. These creators are just using these platforms for exactly what they were built to do: generate attention and engagement at whatever expense. The desire to seek out, observe, and in some cases hopefully become someone of higher status is such an innate characteristic that it's observable even in other primates. Reform is not possible when the foundation of these platforms is built on our most superficial, materialistic, and egotistical impulses. The unethical and destructive aspects of these websites are not a bug, it's not a defect, it's an integral feature of the system. Take a lot of people's gripe with Instagram and the impact that photoshopping one's pictures can have on the viewer's self-esteem, especially young women. And yes, I agree. I think that this has a net negative effect on our society. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know how I ever got to be this brave, but the argument that having these influencers post unedited photos of themselves will make, a drastic improvement on these sites is optimistic. How do I say this, kindly? Even unedited, most of these people look significantly better than the general population. That's part of why they're famous. Sure, I mean, now we know that these sculpted creatures and Adonises still have stretch marks or acne, but ultimately they're still more conventionally attractive than us. So the comparisons won't ever really stop, and they can't stop. That's the point of the website. The entire business model of Instagram is frankly gawking at hot people. And I know there's creators out there that make, funny haha videos, I being one of them. Or people posting their sick art. And now, you can get this detailed image of Cthulhu on a tea cozy. But you know what I'm talking about. That's not what generates most of the traffic on that app. The fact that you will never look like this, or get with someone who looks like this, statistically speaking, is an integral part of the perverse, masochistic fantasy upon which this website's algorithm is built. Creators will never stop posting enviable photos of themselves because they have a financial incentive to do so. Non-famous and hot people, no offense, try to emulate these images because they also crave that attention and validation, and in some cases desire to become one of these influencers. And the non-participatory voyeurs just love rubbing salt into the wound of their insecurities. Also, they're touch deprived, let's just say. This is why the attempt at making healthier alternatives to Instagram, where people are just being real, is akin to trying to open up a casino that isn't rooted in people's crippling gambling addiction. You can't. Be Real is essentially marketing itself as crack, but healthy. Does that analogy make sense? Was that even an analogy? If you get it, you get it. My advice is just delete the app. Salvaging it is impossible. Burn it to the ground and collect the insurance money. You know what? I'll go a step further. I think that the public actually wants the artifice. People yearn for the illusion. We crave it in our little wretched souls. And I know this is going to be a little bit of a tangent, but it is related. This is why I also think certain movements like inclusive beauty will only ever be able to go so far. Can only really democratize beauty to an extent. Like now, okay, you're allowed to be Asian and you don't have to be a size 0, or you can be like kind of short, which I mean in the fashion world is considered revolutionary. But you still have to have like phenomenal bone structure, skin, hair, be, you know, fairly young, etc. You can't ever really have truly inclusive universal beauty. And that's because beauty, like fame and wealth, is relative. It has appeal because it is inaccessible. It's the fact that the people on, you know, whatever sites are built on living vicariously through others are inordinately attractive and on occasion have like life behind their eyes because they were actually loved by their parents, and dress well because they're not paying off student loans, vacation places that look like Epstein's second island, and have lives that are out of reach that causes the public to gravitate towards them. Are they making the members of the general public so dissatisfied with their comparatively drab lives that it's causing the demand for straight jackets to go up? Yes. But unfortunately, these phenomenal escapist fantasies that curate a life of aristocratic bliss is what people want to see. If someone is recording themselves having a regular trip somewhere, trapped in economy, inhaling the farts of middle America, praying that this ends up being one of Boeing's defective models, versus some coiffed vessel trying out multiple first-class experiences, the former is certainly more attainable and realistic, but it's not as aesthetically pleasing, as visually delicious. I'm just saying that if all the aspirational wealth, voyeuristic content, hotties posting double-cheeked up photos and rippling abs, nothing enviable or fake, would it be a net positive for the psyche of the public? Absolutely. But I believe that many people would then go, oh, well, social media is just like kind of drab now. It just accurately reflects my life. And I hate my life. Sometimes people just want to see a contemplative indie movie about the poors or uggos or minorities. But sometimes you just want to gawk at a fun, big, dumb action movie starring a cult member that bears no resemblance to reality. We can roast the entertainment industry and these apps all we want, and they deserve the criticism. But let's not act as if the public is not also to blame for how vapid and shallow our entertainment is. Attention is currency online. And let's look at the stats. Not even just online. The public can scream all at once about not liking the fakery of social media, the superficiality, the gluttony, the materialism. But that's what we're responding positively to. That's what we pay attention to. And I know that some of you watching who don't, follow influencers online might be thinking that you're not complicit in viewing behavior that feeds the worst parts of the internet. But it is almost inevitable that if you are actively online, that you have watched at least, one shallow drama video or a hyperbolic takedown of a piece of pop culture. And you can tell yourself that it's just media criticism. But wasn't there also a part of you that kind of just wanted to see something get ripped to shreds? It's pure bloodthirst, baby. We can't watch gladiator matches anymore, so now we'll settle for histrionic takedowns of Disney's intellectual properties. Perhaps your eyes have lingered on a hot person posting some asinine video on TikTok or Instagram. You checked out their page, didn't you? You did. Father Zuck told me so. Maybe you've fallen down a luxury rabbit hole, and now you're on your 10th video of a tour of a French chateau that makes you want to start punching bricks. And listen, I'm not saying that if you have ever done this, you are some horrible person. These platforms are literally engineered to do this to us. And with upward ascension into the middle class becoming even more difficult, and with the social fabric of our society falling apart, I understand why people want an escape. I'm just saying that when I hear people online purport to claim that they want authenticity, I do not believe you. Okay, well then if you are still using social media, how do you navigate these murky waters without losing your mind? The whole,
remember guys, everything that you see online isn't real
tidbit of info is not helpful. It doesn't really matter that your brain can consciously understand that what you're seeing is fake. You're still gonna internalize whatever it is that you're viewing. Just because you know the grimy details of how the sausage is made doesn't mean that it's not not gonna taste delicious. Does that comparison make sense? Fake is not a word that is negative or strong enough to dissuade your brain from emotionally attaching to these images and videos. So here is my suggestion. Some of you might not agree with my approach, but here it is. See everyone posting online as a pathetic little dancing monkey. You have to understand that wanting fame and deliberately seeking it out is one of the most deranged things a human being can do. It is an understandable desire, very human, deeply, deeply human, but also still kind of pathetic. Once you begin to see the individuals posting said content as desperately vying for the validation of complete strangers, it does become a lot easier to just not be envious of them. Perhaps this is just because we've normalized fame whoring, especially amongst the younger generation where it's now aspirational. But I feel like we need to start framing the desire for fame as not simply cringy, but deeply shameful. I feel like we're comfortable doing this when it comes to blatant clout chasers who just want to be famous for the sake of being famous. No. I think this should be applicable to literally any kind of fame, even if it is for a valid talent. The second part to this is just becoming disillusioned with the lifestyle and the people in it. When you really look at people who are generally famous, like actors, for example. I mean, what is an actor if not, the least ugly version of a theater kid? But I don't care how glamorous they seem. You pour a few vodka cranberries down their gullet and peel back a few layers of PR training. That Oscar winner deep down inside is still just the first reserve for Tony from West Side Story, and he never got over it. Musicians are just glorified band kids that are somehow even more depraved. Comedians? Barely functional alcoholics who substituted hard drugs for laughter and oftentimes are addicted to both. Commentary YouTubers? Failed stand-up comedians with anxiety disorders. Hello! I've said this before, and I mean, this is not exactly like a profound observation, but everyone who posts on social media is doing it for attention. And I know because the internet is such a normalized part of our lives, I really don't think that we acknowledge how genuinely bizarre it is to want this many people observing you. I mean, for example, take me, right? I'm gonna be honest, I make videos because I want people to think that I'm funny. In this video, I'm desperately trying to seem insightful. Is it working? If the answer is no, don't tell me. I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoy making people laugh. It does genuinely feel good to know that I can brighten someone's day. It's not entirely narcissistic, but a part of it is also, yearning for their validation. And money. And I was hugged sufficiently as a child, so I don't even know where it comes from. And I get it, the self-awareness is not going to spare me from the future Amazon death squad. The primary reason that I still use social media now is, again, as I mentioned earlier, because it is how I make my income. And if you are thinking, hey, so you just criticized social media and how unethical it is, yet you still use it, you compromise your morals for money, doesn't that make you a hypocrite? No. It makes me an American, and frankly, it's culturally insensitive for you to expect me to live by my beliefs. But as any good Catholic would, I have established guidelines for myself as a form of penance. I don't cater to kids, because I think that kind of content is genuinely quite despicable. I don't post about my personal life, and nothing that I have ever posted could be considered enviable. So I can at least rest assured that no one is comparing their lives to my own and feeling inadequate. Just give me a break, okay? I've got a limited skill set. I can write and make YouTube videos, and I can kind of do a split. That's about it. And you know what? If you don't like this video and subscribe to my channel, I'm gonna go and get a valid profession. I'm gonna go and become a nurse. I'm gonna go and start administering medical treatment to people. And that's not a threat. That's a promise. Let me know if you agree with me, disagree, partially agree with me. And what are your thoughts? Do you still use social media? I mean, obviously, y'all still use YouTube. What is your approach to social media? What do you think the future of it is gonna look like? And as always, thank you for watching. Shout out to my top patrons. If you would like to donate to my Patreon, the link is in the description and down below. I upload new videos every single week. Thank you to my other lovely patrons. Your names should be scrolling on screen as I speak. Bye.